E-Report with Michael Christian.
Among Us, one of the breakout games from 2020, is finally getting a new map. The game that became an almost overnight sensation and had a player base of nearly 500 million people is getting the update many have been waiting for. Initially, Innersloth, the game's developer, had plans for a sequel, but decided to push those back to focus on improving the current.
It's time for Kai's Corner on OnSideRadio.com. To talk to Kai, dial 888-441-4623. That's 888-441-4623. To reach out on the text line, it's 844-416-8123. That's 844-416-8123. Here's Kai Chen Chisholm on your home for sports talk, OnSideRadio.com.
Good morning. Here we are at beautiful Inter Miami CS Stadium. I, of course, am that man, Kai Chen Chisholm. You can follow me on Twitter at Samurai Radio, 2 I's in Samurai. You can also make sure to follow the Onside Radio Twitter at Onside Radio, where you can keep up to date with every single show that comes through every single day here, literally every single day, every weekday, every weekend, Saturday and Sunday here at Onside Radio. You can catch all of our shows, especially if you're listening live on Podbean or you're listening on any other radio app you might be listening to, even if you're on onsideradio.com/livestream. And also here on YouTube and Twitch. If you're on YouTube, how are you? Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you hit the notification button as well. And you want to make sure it says all notifications, not personalized notifications. As always, Sean is here with me, the producer of all producers. You can follow him on Twitter at Sean_Stanley11. Sean, how's your morning been, man? You were the co-host today for 4th and 20. How was that?
It's been busy. It has been eventful. Not bad eventful, but eventful. Although I did have a story of 826.
Oh.
6 o'clock this morning, there was somebody dancing on the shoulder of the 826 as I was driving to work. So I did what I should do. I called in and let them know. There was somebody dancing on the shoulder, and I was told I was number 50 that called this morning.
So just dancing on the shoulder.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I couldn't. Again, I was on 826, and I was on the far side, so I was away. But the lights kind of caught, and it was just somebody, I thought it was somebody dancing there. No car broke down, no nothing. They were just there on the side of the road dancing, doing something.
Interesting. You gotta love Miami.
It is Miami.
You absolutely have to love Miami. Something that just popped up on the screen that I want to mention quickly before we get into our polls of the day, and then we'll get into our roundtable segment as well. Get all that out here in the first segment. The pitcher for the Angels this weekend that hit that home run popped off the bat so cleanly, and that was something that I watched it. I believe I think Toast might have been the one to retweet it. But I watched that, and the pop off the bat was insane. And I think it traveled at 114 miles an hour, 450 feet. And that was the thing was top of the first, and that's not a ball that's just, whatever. That is a insane home run. Just the pop off the bat, you could hear it. Troy, good morning to you as well. If you're listening on YouTube, you can comment and talk with me as well, just like Troy did. Hope everyone's having a great morning. So, quickly, I want to get into our roundtable segment for today because it involves the Florida Panthers and the Miami Heat. So right now, and we'll read it again so everyone can know exactly what is being referenced. It looks like both the Panthers and Heat are clearly headed to the playoffs. Which franchise is prepared for a deeper playoff run and why? I was sitting in on Toast when he mentioned his, and he was saying how you would be inclined to believe the Miami Heat considering the fact that they're just coming off of a playoff run and they did go deep. I mean, they went 2 games away from winning the NBA Finals and a situation and in a way that nobody ever expected them to do. So you would be inclined to think that you would go ahead and go with the Miami Heat. I would go with the Florida Panthers, just like Toast did, and how he mentioned it's just, I think with the Panthers right now, there's a bigger chance to go deep into the playoffs and potentially challenge for a Stanley Cup because just as Toast mentioned, that team is just better than the Heat team right now. And that's not to say that there's no chance that the Heat could potentially go deep into the playoffs. I just think with the question, I think that the Florida Panthers will be the ones to make a deeper playoff run. Now, it's possible because one, it's the Florida Panthers, and two, it's just, this is the way it is. This is how everything goes down in South Florida sports. So the Panthers right now could potentially go into the playoffs, let's say, as favorites for the Stanley Cup, or they could be one of the, betting odds for the Stanley Cup, and then go out there and completely let us down, because that's just what happens in South Florida sports. It's just how it goes. I guess except for the Heat last season. But I don't think the Heat are going to make it that far this season. I think going into next season, there's a possibility. I just think as it currently stands this season, I don't think that this Heat team, and I hope that I'm wrong, I would love for both of them to go deep into the playoffs. But as it currently stands, I don't think that this Heat team is going to make it as far into the playoffs as the Florida Panthers team will. And maybe it's just because I also just think that there's a chance that they're just not going to get the right matchup. But the East also isn't that great right now. The cream rises to the top, and that's about it. So there's a chance. There's definitely a chance that the Heat could go deep. I don't think that they're going to go deeper than the Panthers. I just think that the Panthers team is much better. I think that the Panthers have a better chance. And hopefully both of them go deep into the playoffs. And there's not much that we get to talk about else. We just get to sit there and enjoy the fact that two great teams down here in South Florida are able to go deep into the playoffs and hopefully make, us proud either way. And I think for just the Panthers in general, them getting to the playoffs and being able to do anything they can do will make us proud in general. So I think that that's one big thing that will continue to be there. I think them getting to the playoffs and at least getting a series or two would make us more proud in general than even with the Heat. Although, again, I think it relates to some of the polls that we talked about last week, where if the Dolphins were to win a Super Bowl, the Stanley Cup win for the Panthers or an NBA Finals win for the Heat wouldn't matter, because the Dolphins Super Bowl win would be the most important thing around town. But I think the Panthers are going to get farther in that. So that's kind of how I feel on that way. I want to bring up our polls here for the day, and if you're in the YouTube comments section, I will make sure to, once again, copy and paste that to you. There is one typo in one of my polls. I was kind of going a little bit quicker, and I meant to just say who will win a job. So I will make sure to specify that for anyone listening that has not yet to vote. So the first poll of the day is, which young player will be the last man standing for the Miami Heat? Duncan Robinson, Tyler Hero, or Kendrick Nunn? Right now, Tyler Hero leading the way with 85.3% of the vote. Number 2, do you think the Dolphins will still pick at number 6? 81% saying yes, 19% saying no. Number 3, are you confident in general manager Chris Greer to make the right pick in the top 10? 83.5% say absolutely. 16.5% saying I'm still skeptical. And then the one that I made a typo on, I just wanted to say job, like winning a job. But I said winning the nickel job because Noah Igbenogany is a boundary corner, but he can play in the slot at the nickel, but he's more so a boundary corner. And Nick Needham was playing the boundary 2 seasons ago, but is more comfortable in the nickel. So there is a little bit of typo there, but I guess you could still kind of swing it either way. It's will Noah Igbenogany or Nick Needham end up winning the nickel job. You could either do it nickel or just win a job in general for the Dolphins. Igbenogany leading the way at 66.7% of the vote, with Nick Needham at 33.3%. And I find that one the most interesting because when we talk about draft busts and we talk about the potential of players in the NFL, I feel like Noah Igbenogany is one of those guys where you look at, and those are always those guys that get that first year and never get anything else. And I feel like that's how people are trying to go about everything with Noah Igbenogany. They're trying to just give him a 1 year and you're done, you're out. No, nothing else with it, which is, I guess it's understandable to certain levels. I don't think that the criticism that he got is as deserved as it should be. I think that Noah Igbenogany did a lot poorly, but at the same time, when they drafted him in the first round, you knew that he was raw. And the second thing is most of the top wide receiver prospects coming out of the NFL draft right now that all of us want to go after and grab, when they were asked some of the toughest corners that they had played against, Noah Igbenogany was the answer. Noah Igbenogany was the guy that they were sitting there saying, this is the guy that was the toughest to go across and match up against, and this was the guy that was making a hard time for myself. So I think that we should look at that and say, okay, yes, this might have been in college, but this is the guy that we drafted in the first round that's still raw, that has potential, to be something. And all the receivers that we want to go out there and draft so bad are the ones that are sitting there saying that this was the guy that was the toughest to go up against and match up one-on-one against. So, you know, you look at that and you have to at least think, okay, hopefully there's some sort of hope and some sort of future there. I don't think that we should all look at it and say, okay, I don't think that we should sit there and be as upset as we could be with what's happening with Noah. I think Noah deserves to get the chance to prove himself. I think Noah deserves to get the chance to sit there and compete for a job against a guy like a Nick Needham and be able to try to prove himself. Again, so many people have talked about how, you know, drafting Noah Igbenogany could mean the end for Xavier Howard. I don't think that is true. I think that that's so far from what the obvious currently is. But then again, if Noah Igbenogany goes out there and he has a fantastic season this season and his development throughout the offseason and training camp, everything along those lines continues to go the way that you would want it to go, then that's a guy that you look at and you can say, okay, could we maybe get out of a guy like a Byron Jones or get out of a guy like an Xavier Howard? I don't think they should do either of those. But could we go out there and try to make one of these moves and get rid of one of these guys because we have a young guy here that is going to produce and we have a young guy here that's going to do something for our team? So I do think that there are those chances, and I think that we have to look at those and say, okay, if Noah does progress and does start to do a lot better, there's a chance that we could be sitting here saying, okay, we are kind of out of luck with one of these guys. We're going to have to try to get away from one of them in order to make anything happen for ourselves as a team. But I don't think it's going to be that bad. I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal in terms of one of those two guys getting away in a Byron Jones or an Xavier Howard. But I do think that there should still be hope for Noah Igbenogany. I don't think that people should be giving up on him as fast as they are, because I just think it's unfair. But that's also, you know, how we, you know, live now and how things happen in football anyways. So coming up, we're going to talk a little bit more about the Dolphins, and then in the segment following that, we'll talk with Ariel Atias from 5 Reasons Sports. You can find him on Twitter at Ariel Atias, two T's and Atias, and then the number 2. We'll talk to him about 10:34. Saturday mornings at 9 a.m., Sean Stanley hosts the Square Circle Digest. Now, wrestling fans have a place to call home as Sean covers the very colorful world of wrestling. Tune in every Saturday from 9 to 10 a.m. on the home for sports fans worldwide, OnsideRadio.com.
Onside Radio, the only choice for the South Florida sports fan.
Let's raise a cup to the first among us who put themselves last. To the risk takers, the mask makers, the heroes on the front line and online. To the ones keeping shelves full and keeping us hopeful. To those who don't stop and those making all the stops. To the ones who pick up, suit up, and never let us down. From all of us at Duncan to all the heroes keeping everyone running, we thank you.
Why was the basketball court all wet? Because the players kept dribbling on it.
The dad joke. Corny, groan-worthy, but also one of the simplest ways to share a moment with your kids.
What did the buffalo say when he dropped his son off for school? Bye, son.
So take a moment to make your kid laugh, because dad jokes rule. Make your kid laugh today. Go to fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
OnsideRadio.com knows gamers need a home.
Can you dig it?
That's why for the next 60 seconds,
Can you count, suckers?
here's your Onside Radio e-report with Toast.
Sony is making a strong push into the esports sector. The company's YouTube channel is filled with daily live streams. Gran Turismo Sport has become one of the most successful competitive games in the industry, and the organization recently acquired the EVO fighting game tournament. And now, much like the Call of Duty League, the company signed a deal to make PlayStation 5 the official console of the NBA 2K League. This is a multi-year partnership, which will begin in May as the competition's 4th season tips off. In addition to sponsoring the NBA 2K League, the manufacturer will be running its own tournaments and competitions in the game, with various prizes up for grabs. You can find out more about how to participate through the PlayStation blog. Happy gaming.
Stay in touch in the world of gaming with the Onside Radio e-report.
Enter Miami CF, your official furniture and mattress store, is here. City Furniture is your #1 home source for the trends you want at the prices you'll love, including exclusive City Furniture collections, the widest selection of styles, affordable home accents, mattresses starting at just $99 and more. Create the home of your dreams fast with next-day delivery, plus get 60 months special financing with no down payment. Because City Furniture is here to make it easy so everyone can live life like this, visit cityfurniture.com.
Hey, it's Big O. You know, air quality in your home or business is so important now, folks. That's why you've got to call M&S Air Conditioning. Let them install a high-efficiency polarized air filter in your AC unit that attracts, captures, and destroys biological contaminants to improve your air quality. M&S is always on call from 7:30 a.m. till 9 o'clock p.m. and, of course, emergency Sundays. Call for more info on high-efficiency air filters and their preventative maintenance plans. Visit M&S Air Conditioning at ac-florida.com.
Welcome back to Kai's Corner. To reach out to Kai, dial 888-441-4623. That's 888-441-4623. Back to Kai's Corner.
All right, we're back here. How is everyone's day? Sean, I want to know, like, I know you said it's been a little uneventful, but just in general, how are you feeling at this current point in time?
I'm so excited.
Yeah?
I just can't hide it.
There you go. I was like, that's the second part that I was waiting for. So we're going to talk with Ariel Atias coming up in the next segment, so I want to make sure that everyone sticks around. We'll talk Miami Heat with him. We'll ask him about our poll and what he thinks regarding that situation in terms of the Heat player, the young Heat player that would or should continue to progress. The next one that I wanted to talk about, going down up with our polls today, is: are you confident in general manager Chris Greer to make the right pick in the top 10? If you have your own thoughts on this as well, you can comment down below in the YouTube comments. Let me know what you think and how you see everything happening with, you know, Chris Greer, and what your thoughts on him are, and how you feel right now with Chris Greer. And I want you to look at it from a point of view of not looking at it when he was the general, in terms of when him and Mike Tannenbaum were together. The reason why I ask this is because I don't think that it is right for us to look at his drafts while he was still under the umbrella of Mike Tannenbaum. Because Mike Tannenbaum was horrible. He just was. And everything he did was always a situation where it was like, yeah, Mike Tannenbaum going out there and always messing things up. That's the biggest thing that Mike Tannenbaum did, is he always messed things up. He always made things bad for the Dolphins and always made us sit there like, oh my God, are we going to get out of cap hell? Are we going to be able to even sign free agent here, free agent this, free agent that? What are we going to be able to do? Will we be able to do anything? Are we going to be able to get out of the situation that we're in right now? And that's all the thoughts that we had when Mike Tannenbaum was running the place. And Stephen Ross still let him go ahead and run the place as horrible as he did. And he just did not allow it to go out there and make it better. Stephen Ross did not want his team better, it seemed like at the time, because Mike Tannenbaum was still running everything. So the reason why I ask is, are you confident in general manager Chris Greer? I want you to tell me your confidence level when it comes to him as the GM making the picks. So he's sort of been in charge since essentially 2018, 2019-ish. His first, I guess you could say, real draft in charge was 2019. But he was still in charge in like that 2018 when they picked Minka and Mike and Jerome and so forth and so on. Or so on and so forth. So he was in charge of a lot of that stuff. So he was still kind of making the moves and making the decisions at that time. So we want to look at the drafts from then. Let's look at the draft in 2018. And let's say that he's still making a big, still in charge in a way, although he's not because Tannenbaum was still kind of there until he was relieved of his duties in 2019. But because this is a time in 2018 where he was getting a little more control of what was happening. So in 2018, they go ahead and they select Minkah Fitzpatrick at number 11. Guy that was looked at as a top 5 pick. No way he falls. Not even a chance. This is an outstanding player. This is someone that's going to be the guy to man our safety, like man our safety position for years and years and years and years to come. Which we looked at and we saw and we thought of like, yes, like finally we have that guy. We have the guy that's going to sit back there and it's going to be an all-pro and we're not going to have to worry about anything. Then Minkah wants his way out. So he decides that he wants to try and get out of the situation that he's in and not be still with like the Dolphins. He doesn't want to be there at all and he wants to kind of exit. So it looks as if we were going to lose Minkah, at least for everything that happened. So with that, we then go on to the point where we said, okay, Minkah's going to have to get traded. It is what it is, unfortunately, but, we'll have to trade Minkah because he doesn't want to be here. Trade him away, you get a first-round pick, and you go out and you use that one in 2020. It works out. Mike Gesicki then gets drafted. I think that's worked out pretty well thus far for the Dolphins. Jerome Baker, I feel like, has worked out pretty well for the Dolphins. Durham Smythe's still on the team. And then the lower ones, Kalen Ballage didn't work out, could have, but unfortunate. Cornell Armstrong never worked out, just never even saw the field. Quentin Poling never worked out, never saw the field. And then Jason Sanders, you have him. He's an all-pro kicker. He's going to continue to be your kicker for years and years to come. That's a fantastic selection. Then the following year, I think it was a pretty good year. I think you did a pretty good job in the draft if you're Chris Grier. You go out there and you get a Christian Wilkins, who I feel like has done a pretty good job. I don't go along the same sides of people who don't think that I don't think that he's great, but I don't think that some people have been like, oh, he's just kind of good. I think that Christian Wilkins is very good. And I think that some of the things with Christian Wilkins that don't get seen are what he can do just in general on and off, the field as just a person and the things that he can do and his impact just there. His impact as a player. Fins up to you as well, Willie. There in the YouTube comments. I don't think that people look at Christian Wilkins and see just in general what he can do outside of everything. I think Christian Wilkins does a very good job, and I think that he should continue to be at least looked at as a big piece of the future. You draft Michael Dieter in the 3rd round after you trade your 2nd-round pick away for Josh Rosen. Rosen didn't work. If you want to count Rosen as a 2nd-round pick, you can do that. That's fine. Michael Dieter, he hasn't been horrible, I don't think. I don't think Dieter's been bad. When he's gotten on the field, he's been okay. When he had to fill in last season, I think he did a pretty good job. So right now, I think the jury is still out on Dieter. Isaiah Prince never worked out. Chandler Cox, he's going to get cut eventually. At least what it's. Or actually, I believe Chandler Cox is already cut. Never mind. I apologize. Chandler Cox is already not on the team because there's a new fullback in town. I completely forgot about that. I don't know why. It just completely whiffed my head. But yeah, Chandler Cox, it never worked out. He was the fullback, and then when they started to switch a system with Tua and not use the fullback as much, he wasn't featured, and there was no point to have him there. And then Myles Gaskin, I think, has been okay. He's worked out a little bit as well. And then Andrew Van Ginkel, I think, really took on a bigger role last season, and I think he'll continue to try to get that role. And if he's producing more in that role this season, then that's going to work out. It's going to be a great value for a 5th-round pick. The linebacker out of Wisconsin and Andrew Van Ginkel, AVG. Then we look through this past draft. And, of course, the jury is still very much out on this past draft because of how much people don't – I guess not people don't like it, but how upset people have been with this draft, right? Tua Tagovailoa, I think the jury is still very much out, and I think that people have rushed to judgment a little bit. But I still think this is a guy that you look at, has elite accuracy, elite anticipation. I think he's going to be a very good quarterback. But obviously the jury is still out on him. Austin Jackson, same situation, though I think he's pretty good as well himself. I think that he will continue to develop and hopefully be a staple at the tackle position. If not, it is what it is at the end of the day. It is what it is. Unfortunately, it doesn't work out. You got a guy in a Robert Hunt. You got a guy in a Solomon Kinley later on in the draft that can, be much better. How's it going, Bellissimo Jones, out in the YouTube comments? I'm doing great, man. I hope you're doing good as well. Noah Igbenogany, another guy. Jury's still out. Robert Hunt and I think Solomon Kinley are some of the big positives from that. And I think Raekwon Davis by far is the prize jewel. That was one of the best picks in that draft. Tua is going to be the obvious one when things are said and done. I really liked Brandon Jones. I still really like Brandon Jones a lot. Jason Strowbridge, not a lot that you can do with him. Curtis Weaver just didn't work out. Malcolm Perry's been on and off the field. He's had his situations where they use him, they don't use him, then they kind of bounce back and forth with Malcolm. But I think, and then Blake Ferguson's a pretty good long snapper. I know for the brand, people don't, want to, give the brand the respect it deserves. But Blake Ferguson's a pretty good long snapper, and he gets down the field quite quickly. So that was a pretty good pick, though people are going to be like, wow, you wasted a 6th-round pick on a long snapper. I still think that it worked out very well for them. I think, again, Chris Greer has hit on some picks. I think Gesicki is a hit. Jerome Baker is a hit. Minka is a hit. And Jason Sanders. Minka's not on the team. It's unfortunate. It is what it is. You can say in that 2018 draft, 3 of those guys you hit on. 2 of them you very much hit on. And I guess you could say one of them is still out between Gesicki or Baker, whichever way you want to go. 2019, I think you hit on at least 2. And then the third one is kind of a maybe in Myles Gaskin, because I think Christian Wilkins is going to be very good. Andrew Van Ginkel so far has showed us a lot. And if he can really flash this season, then you've hit on at the very least 2 of those picks, with Myles Gaskin potentially being the third. And then you look at the 2020 draft. So far, I guess right now what we think of the potential of Tua could be a hit. What we think of, I guess, Raekwon Davis can be a hit. Robert Hunt and Solomon Kinley played very well. And then Blake Ferguson, I think, is a hit because I think he's very good at a long snapper. So that's 5. You hit 5 in 2020. You hit 2 in 2019. You hit 4 or 3, I guess, in 2018. I think Chris Greer has done a very good job. I think that some of the criticism that comes his way is undeserved. But at the end of the day, that's going to happen. And that's just what it is. Results are going to matter more. And I think that we'll start to see those results come through very soon, as quickly as next season. And we'll be there and we'll be happier. So I think that's the best part of this. Coming up next, we're going to have on Ariel Atias from 5 Reasons Sports. We'll talk about the Miami Heat with him. If you have anything you might want me to ask Ariel, if you're in the YouTube comments, let anything you might have, any questions you might have down below. I will definitely want to give those out. Or if you want to text line at 844-416-8123. If you have any thoughts for him as well, you can do that. If you're not already following Ariel, go ahead and do that. You can follow him at Ariel Atias, Ariel Attias, and then the number 2 on Twitter. And you can go ahead there and talk with him. He's in all the 5 Reasons Sports stuff. Very, very knowledgeable. Has the voice for it as well. I love talking with Ariel, so we will talk with him next. Miami Dolphins fans can always count on the best coverage at OnsideRadio.com every week. Keep up with your favorite team as Dolphins writer Omar Kelly joins us with exclusive reports and when news breaks. Catch the EJDConstruction.com Miami Dolphins report on the home for Dolphins fans everywhere, OnsideRadio.com.
Now streaming online.
Onside Radio, the only.
Now streaming online.
Onside Radio, the only choice for the South Florida sports fan.
There are those who dedicate themselves to a sense of honor, to a life of courage, and a commitment to something greater than themselves. They have always defended this nation and each other. They still do. The few, the proud, the Marines.
Okay, kids, Dad's gonna teach you how to dance. First, spread your feet apart. Then, pump your knee, nod your head, shake your hips, and bite your lip ever so slightly. Now, with one hand in the air, point at people with the other hand. I call that the rock star.
Dance like a dad. It's a great way to make a moment with your kids.
Now, make a face like it just smells something bad.
Visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
OnSideRadio.com gives you a ton of options to listen to the station. You can now download free apps from Radio.net, Podbean, and Simple Radio. Download any of these free apps and listen to your favorite On-Side host. Visit our website at OnSideRadio.com to find all these links.
Riddle me this. With all this sizzling meat and crunchy veggies nestled between toasty flatbread, who should get credit for Papa John's new papadilla? The person who invented pizza or the person who invented folding? Well, whoever it is, a tip of the tongue hat to you, sir or madam. Get a new papadilla, 4 flavors, just $6 each. Better ingredients, better pizza, better than a sandwich. Papa John's.
Keeping you informed in the world of sports. With an OnSideRadio.com sports update.
Good morning, sir or madam. It was a winning weekend in South Florida as on Saturday, the Heat beat the Cavaliers 115-101 for their 4th straight win. Bam Adebayo had 18 points, 11 rebounds, 5 assists. Their next game Tuesday at the AAA versus the Memphis Grizzlies. Miami Marlins finally won the first game of the season with a 12-7 victory over Tampa Bay Rays. Starling Marte had 4 hits for the Fish, who won their first game of the season. Also, first home win, first the Rays since 2018. Today, the Marlins welcome the Cardinals to Lone Depot Park. First pitch, 6:40. I got mail. Trevor Rogers takes the mound for the Fish. The Florida Panthers, they swept Columbus at the BB&T Center 5-2 on Saturday. And 3-0 Sunday behind Chris Drieger's second shutout of the season. Their next game Tuesday in Carolina. This is South Florida's home for local sports talk. This is OnSideRadio.com.
Let's get back to Kai's Corner. You can send Kai a text at 844-416-8123. That's 844-416-8123. Here's Kai Chen Chisholm.
All right. Want to address something quickly from the comments. From Eric Wiedeke, one of my good friends. Wilkins made a pretty big jump in year 1 to year 2. We'll get even better next year. I agree. And then he also said Dieter might be their best center right now. Probably. Listen, the blocking from Skura is very good. The yips, though. The yips are the yips. We're going to speak with someone that hopefully doesn't have the yips, and Ariel Atias right now. You can follow him on Twitter at Ariel Atias2. That's ATTIAS, and then the number 2. Contributes to 5 Reasons Sports. Ariel, it was a good weekend for the Miami Heat. How was your weekend?
My weekend was great. Whenever the Heat have a good weekend, I've got a good weekend as well. And no better way to start the week off than with Kai's Corner. So let's do it.
I love that. I love to hear it. So they come away with a win, and it was kind of one of those wins where even when I was watching in the bits and pieces I was able to on Friday, it was just like, okay, this is just going to be a complete blowout. The Heat are doing what they need to do. But it was kind of although, yeah, you get your players that dominate, it was kind of like a share the love in terms of who was kind of putting everything together. You know, Trevor had a good game. Jimmy had a good game. Bam had a good game. Duncan, Goran. You know, it was a lot of kind of just a team effort, which is something we haven't seen in a while, right? It's been kind of the Jimmy show. When Jimmy takes over, everything kind of works. Obviously, it's the Cavs, but it does mean something to go out there, get your 4th win in a row, coming off of that 6-game losing streak. Although it is against the Cavs, what do you feel like this meant as a team win for the Heat?
Honestly, I just think, you know, it's about, at this point in the season, it's about getting wins, especially in the spots where you need to get wins. So the Heat, you know, they've got, after these next 2 games at home against the Grizzlies and the Lakers, they go on the road out west. They play the Blazers, the Suns, Nuggets on a back-to-back, and then they finish up with the Wolves before coming home to play the Nets. So you've got a challenging stretch in your schedule coming up for about a 5-game stretch there. So, yeah, man, I mean, you've got to beat teams like the Warriors and the Cavs, the Grizzlies coming up when you're at home. I thought that, you know, these games, I'm not going to take too much away from them other than 2 things. Number 1, the defense is ridiculous. This team was already a top 5 defense in the NBA before they went out and got Victor Oladipo. Now they add him into the fold. They've got a two-way shot creator who can, guard his position, stay in front of guys, gives the Heat a ton, and I mean a ton of more options defensively, much more variability within the defense, and you can trust him to stay attached to his man. So it's a good win for the Heat. I mean, they're building that chemistry. Victor needs to settle down a little bit and get used to his teammates and figure out how he can be effective within the Heat's offense, but the defense is something that translates immediately, and you've seen it over the last couple of games.
Yeah, that's been the big thing. I know a lot of people were saying, and Ethan was tweeting out a lot as well, where he was like, listen, it'll come with Vic. Let it just, chill out for a little bit. This is a guy that's coming off, and it'll come eventually. But defensively, again, as you said, the Heat teams in general have always been big on defense. And I think this team was very good on defense. Victor has done a great job, and you've seen it. I mean, even people will use just kind of bits and pieces of clips, especially from that Cavs game, where he's just following guys and he's sticking with them no matter what, and it's just stalling possessions for teams where they're not even able to get and run the plays that they want to run and get the ball where they want to get the ball. Another thing there is Trevor Ariza. Getting Trevor Ariza in kind of everything that happened for the Heat throughout all those trades, throughout getting players in, he was one of those guys that people looked at and was like, okay, this can be a very big piece. He's done a good job since getting into the starting lineup. What have you thought about Trevor Ariza thus far?
Man, I am so excited about Trevor Ariza. I have been shouting from the mountaintops that Trevor Ariza needs to be the starter at the 4 for this team. I said that over 2 weeks ago when I did Floor's Yours at 5 Reasons Sports with Ethan Skolnick and the guys. I said from day one, that guy needs to be the starter at the 4. It was just a matter of him finding his footing, getting back into a rhythm, because, again, he hadn't played basketball in almost a year when the Heat had acquired him. So it's going to take some time for him to get back into a rhythm. And regardless of whether or not he's making his shots, which we've seen in the last couple of games, so that's a really good development for the Heat's offense and for him. But he's always been a really good defender. The guy is ridiculously long. His measurables are insane. He's got a 7-foot-something wingspan. He's always been a good defender. And, man, I've been saying this as well. You put him at the 4 and he starts. He fills a lot of the same role that Jay Crowder filled for the Heat, in that he gives the Heat a switchable 4 who unlocks their lineups. It allows the Heat to play the switching defense much more frequently. They can play man more because he can stay in front of his guy. There's just so much, that he brings to the lineup that's similar to Jay. The difference there is Jay was a better defender in the post because he was, a little bit beefier and stronger than Ariza. But Trevor fits the switching defense better because he can, guard out on the perimeter. He can switch onto a point guard. We've seen him do that. We saw him switch on to Steph Curry in the Golden State game and just swallow him up and block his shot. He's a really good defender and an excellent fit for this team. And now, when the Heat needs stops, they can throw out any 4 of these next 5, or all 5 of them, in Ariza, Iguodala, Oladipo, Jimmy Butler, and Bam Adebayo. That is ridiculous. That is Clamp City.
I want to ask, and this is someone who isn't on the Heat anymore, and we talked about him last week, in Kelly Olynyk. 26 points yesterday against the Pelicans. And it seems like Kelly's kind of found a little bit of a identity/groove. I mean, he's averaging 18.2 right now for the Rockets, and he's been kind of one of their producers. Do you think it's just because the Rockets are that bad, or do you think that Kelly has now had to step up into a bigger role with the Rockets, and so he's doing just a little bit better in production?
Yes, to both. I mean, in Kelly's case, look, we on Heat Twitter, he was kind of like Heat Twitter's lightning rod for a while, right? Just because he's an easy guy to pick on.
He was a meme.
Played, right, exactly. And the awkward style and all of that. So it's just too easy to get on him and make him make him take the brunt of the blame when the team struggles. The thing with him is he's not really a starting caliber player. He's not a bad basketball player, but ideally he's your backup stretch 5 and a good one at that. But for the Heat, he had to start at the 4 next to Bam, and it's just not an ideal spot for him. There's too much responsibility on his shoulders. I think in Houston, you nailed it. They're not a good team. They don't have a lot of offensive options outside of, John Wall and Christian Wood, who really aren't guys who are going to carry your offense. They're good tertiary offensive players. They're secondary and third options on a good team, ideally. So with Kelly Olynyk, it's an increased role. He's going to get more shots. The usage rate is going to go up. And I get major looter in a riot vibes from Kelly Olynyk. Like I said, he's not a bad player, but he's going to produce on a team that needs him to, take shots. And there is an offensive skill set there. So I'm not all that shocked that he's been solid for them offensively. He's had a couple of good games. But I don't think, we should go and say, oh, well, the Heat, maybe didn't make the best trade. They gave up a guy who, look what he's doing now. He just needed a bigger role. No, not on this team. He would only be doing that on a bad team, and that's exactly what we're seeing happen.
Yeah, I mean, poor Kelly for being a meme here. I always liked Kelly Olynyk. I don't know. Ever since he came here, instead of being with that team, that godforsaken team in the white and green, I always loved Kelly. I want to ask him, we're talking with Ariel Atias here from 5 Reasons Sports. Again, you can follow him on Twitter at Ariel Atias, ATTIAS, and then number 2 on Twitter. A part of the poll today, the first one was, which young player will be the last man standing for the Heat? Duncan Robinson, Tyler Hero, Kendrick Nunn. Tyler is running away with it. I'm sure it's also because so many people like him. Is that kind of how you feel as well? Just Tyler Hero is going to end up being the last man standing because of, is it maybe a contract situation? Is it because of how he plays? What do you think will be, out of those 3, who will be the last one standing?
So I saw that poll, and I think it's actually a very good question. I don't think that the poll results are indicative of what will or might happen. So I think you made a good point there in saying that a lot of people might be voting based on their fandom and how much they love Tyler. But I voted Tyler. It's kind of
after all that. Yeah, I voted Tyler too.
I voted Tyler, but only because I can't vote for all 3. Because there isn't really one answer to this question. There are many variables in play here. So who's the best player out of that bunch? Well, it kind of depends. I think you lean Tyler because of the potential, but Duncan Robinson seems to have more of an impact on winning. When he plays well, the Heat usually win. And when Tyler plays well, it doesn't necessarily translate to wins. That is eye test season at its best. So I don't know if the numbers back that up. But as far as who's going to end up being the last man standing, it depends on what, type of options present themselves to the Heat in the offseason and going forward. The Heat won't trade Tyler for anybody that isn't a really good player. Now, at the deadline, they could have had Kyle Lowry. But what does it say about how the Heat feel about Tyler Hero when they don't put him in that deal? Now, I get that Kyle Lowry is 35 years old, and the optics of trading a 21-year-old player on a rookie deal who's relatively productive still for a player at 35 years old. But Kyle Lowry, we know, is a Jimmy Butler favorite. They are boys. They are good friends, and Jimmy loves him. He's wanted him on the Heat since he got here. So, Kyle Lowry's still a really good player as well. He's a better player than Victor Oladipo. I love Vic, but Kyle Lowry's a better basketball player. He would have fit even better on the Heat. But what does it say about Tyler Hero and how the Heat feel about him when they won't put him in that deal? It says that they think very highly of him, and they're not going to cash that chip for, anything that doesn't really turn this team into a special team. As far as Duncan goes, my understanding is that he was on the table in that deal. So, take from that what you will. But if this team goes into the playoffs, and gets back to the conference finals or exceeds expectations and perhaps even gets back to the finals, I think Duncan gets paid, and I don't think he's going anywhere barring something unforeseen coming up, because he's the type of player that you don't pay if your team isn't a contender. He's somebody who relies on Bam Adebayo, for example, to, get him the majority of his offense with the dribble handoff. But he's added a little bit of an off-the-dribble game. He can finish around the basket, and he's become a better defender. So if this team proves to be a contender, I think they pay him. And I kind of don't really think that any of them get traded this summer, perhaps Kendrick Nunn, because, in a sign-and-trade type scenario, because there isn't really a role for him on the team. There are too many guards ahead of him. But, again, it all depends on what becomes available. If Bradley Beal asks for a trade, you better believe Tyler Hero is going to be on the table.
Yeah, I think that's the only player that, when you look at it, it's like if Bradley Beal asks for a trade, then you throw all the chips out there and you make it happen. I would especially love that because he's a Florida Gator, so that would just make myself happy. Ariel, thank you so much for coming on, man. Again, you can follow him on Twitter at Ariel Atias, ATTIAS, and then the number 2. And he's a contributor to 5 Reasons Sports. You can catch him all on that. Make sure to go follow him on Twitter. Ariel, man, thank you so much for coming on.
Absolutely, anytime.
Of course. Love that stuff from Ariel. And then, of course, we'll have Royal on Wednesdays like we usually do. We'll talk to him about the Heat. That'll be after the Memphis game. And then I believe we might talk with Ira this week as well. We'll see how that goes. And I love talking to Ira, too. But we're going to have our Heat stuff spread out throughout the week. If you missed it, or if you are planning on staying through, Hour 2 will have Louis Sung on, so stick around for that. We'll talk about the Dolphins, probably argue about the Dolphins, really, but we'll do that. Saturdays at 8 a.m., baseball fans can go deep into the count with Alex Aguirre and... okay, so never mind. Doing another one. Onside Radio understands gaming is a big part of the sports landscape. That's why every day we keep you updated with some of the latest gaming news with Onside Radio's E-Minute, hosted by Toast, myself, and Michael Christian. If you miss it, it's podcasted daily, as is our roundtable. You can search up Onside Radio on all platforms. Subscribe, rate and review OnsideRadio.com, the station gamers call home.
Onside Radio, the only choice for the South Florida sports fan.
Let's raise a cup to the first among us who put themselves last. To the risk takers, the mask makers, the heroes on the front line and online. To the ones keeping shelves full and keeping us hopeful. To those who don't stop and those making all the stops. To the ones who pick up, suit up, and never let us down. From all of us at Duncan to all the heroes keeping everyone running, we thank you.
I'm 54, so basically, it's too late to start saving for retirement, right?
Not right. Starting to save, even in your 50s, can really make a difference.
Well, right now, saving seems hard to wrap my head around. Plus, with the way this year's been going...
Hey, listen, it's okay. You still got this. Just go to aceyourretirement.org. It's an online tool from AARP that can help you get your retirement savings on track no matter your age. It's free and only takes about 3 minutes.
I like 3 minutes.
Yeah, at aceyourretirement.org, you'll chat with Avo, the friendly digital retirement coach. Just answer a few questions and you'll get a personalized plan and tips to help boost your retirement savings. Tips that are easy to understand and tailored to your lifestyle.
I like that too.
Plus, it's sponsored by AARP, so you know they got your back. Just head to aceyourretirement.org and make your plan to start saving for retirement.
Thanks.
That's aceyourretirement.org. A message from AARP and the Ad Council.
You can't buy a best friend. You can love them, walk them, pet them, and care for them, whether they want you to or not. You can take a picture, or 50. You can fly to the moon, travel the world, or just stay in bed. You can't buy a best friend like that, but you can adopt one. There are millions of pets waiting for a best friend just like you. Help us save them all at bestfriends.org.
Florida Panthers fans have a place to call home. Every Saturday morning, as Cats insider David Dwork will host Chirping the Cats Radio every Saturday at 10 a.m.
Who other than Roberto Luongo, the future Hall of Fame goaltender, one of the best, if not the best players to ever put on a Panthers jersey.
Panthers fans can now connect every Saturday 10 to 11 a.m. with David Dwork on the home for Panthers fans worldwide, OnsideRadio.com.
Let's be honest. The National Symphony may not be in his future, but he wanted to try violin. So you said yes because you love him. And if you love him that much, love him enough to make sure he's buckled up and in the back seat. Find out more about keeping your kids safe in your vehicle at nhtsa.gov/the-right-seat. Show him you love him. Keep him safe. Visit nhtsa.gov/the-right-seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Hey, hon, what you doing with your phone? Taking pictures?
No, I'm asking it questions.
Like what?
Hey, Bobo, do flowers have best friends?
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, follow me. I want to show you something. Look, flowers do have best friends.
Whoa.
Some answers can only be found in nature. Discover the unsearchable. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a trail near you. Brought to you by the United States Forest Service and the Ad Council.
I was in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean when it happened. There was a sudden jolt and our submarine crashed on the seafloor. We were in total darkness.
That's Dr. Dejana Figueroa, a marine biologist and STEM teacher, talking about a deep sea dive she'll never forget.
It's funny, when I was a kid, I was afraid of the ocean, and there I was, 2 miles below the surface. But as a scientist, you prepare for that. Using our training and a little creativity, we fixed the sub and finished our experiments. The dive was just too important. Every dive gives us glimpses at things few people ever get to see. Glowing creatures, fiery undersea volcanoes. When we got back to the surface, I kissed the ground and called my mom, of course. But you know what? I wouldn't trade that dive for anything.
Dr. Figueroa uses her passion for STEM to discover new things and make the world a better place. She can STEM, so can you. Check out She Can STEM for more stories and inspiration. A message from the Ad Council.
Hey, it's Big O. You know, air quality in your home or business is so important now, folks. That's why you've got to call M&S Air Conditioning. Let them install high-efficiency polarized air filter in your AC unit that attracts, captures, and destroys biological contaminants to improve your air quality. M&S is always on call from 7:30 a.m. till 9 o'clock p.m. and, of course, emergency Sundays. Call for more info on high-efficiency air filters and their preventative maintenance plans. Visit M&S Air Conditioning at ac-florida.com.
Let's get back to Kai's Corner. You can send Kai a text at 844-416-8123. That's 844-416-8123. Here's Kai Chen Chisholm.
Sean is just one of the funniest guys. I swear, man. I get cracked up all the time when talking to Sean. If you missed our last segment, we talked with Ariel Atias from 5 Reasons Sports. You can find him on Twitter at Ariel Atias, Attias, and then the number 2 on Twitter. If you're listening or watching on YouTube, hi, hello, how are you? Make sure you leave anything you might want to say down there into the chat. We will have a conversation as well as we get into hour 2 pretty soon here. Another comment that came in from Herman Cueva as we were talking to Ariel said, Dolphins are drafting a center. I don't think Dieter is a starter. He's a solid bench player. I think the jury is out on Dieter. I don't think that anyone really knows what's going to happen with him, which is why I say it's like, you know, listen, the draft, you're always drafting and you never know what's going to happen. That's kind of, the NFL draft is always, it's always changing. Anything can happen. I think that's why we all love it. That's why, even though we know Draft Day is the most unrealistic movie of all time, we sit there and we go, Vontae Mack, no matter what, I am watching this movie the night before the draft, the day of the draft, because it's going to get me hyped. I'm going to sit down on April 28th and I'm going to watch Draft Day. And I'm going to sit there and I'm going to be, hyped. And the draft is unrealistic, but it is what it is. And I think that's the thing that, we look at where it's like, look, every single draft, unless you do what the Titans did with Isaiah Wilson, which isn't completely their fault. The Colts a couple years ago with Philip Dorsett. The Broncos with Tim Tebow. I mean, what else can I really – what are some huge other big busts in recent years? I mean, those are the ones that come to my mind just like kind of straight off the bat of guys that were drafted and they're just kind of just so bad. I mean, Eric Fisher wasn't really that great either. There's so much that you look at and you're like, okay, this could be a bust, this could be a bust. And Dieter is, of course, in the lower rounds. I think there's still faith for him. I want to draft Creed Humphrey very badly. I very, very badly want Creed Humphrey. So if we could walk away with Creed Humphrey, or excuse me, the Dolphins could walk away with Creed Humphrey, I would very much enjoy that. I would be very happy. Over the moon, just could not be happier sort of system if that happens. But unfortunately, like, look, we'll have to kind of sit there and see, what's going to happen. Are we going to get a center in the draft, or are we just going to be screwed out of luck? Anyways, we'll talk a little bit more about that with Lewis in the second hour. We'll talk a lot of Dolphins with Lewis in the second hour when he comes on at 11:20. So make sure to stick around for that. Rounding off hour 1, going into hour 2, I got the updated time. Am I allowed to read this now, Sean? I want to make sure I get their thing through and give the love that I can. All right, cool. Updated time. So Saturdays from 1 to 3, baseball fans can go deep into the count with Alex Aguirre and Christian Chase. Catch a show that talks Marlins and all the big stories in the major leagues every Saturday from 1 to 3. Seamheads have a new home. Listen to Deep Into the Count exclusively at onsiteradio.com.
Hey, is that a faucet running?
Nope,
That's not a faucet. That's a river rushing through the forest. It is? Yeah. Forest rivers provide over 100 million people with clean water to drink. The water comes straight from the forest to us. In fact...
What? I can't hear you because of the vacuum.
That's not a vacuum. That's the trees in the forest cleaning up the air we breathe.
How do trees clean the air?
They soak up the dirty air on their leaves, branches, and trunks, which means clean air for us.
Cool. I didn't know that.
Yep. But the forest does more than give us clean air and water. It gives us shade for hot days, birds to listen to, and trees to climb.
Wow, that's awesome. I didn't know how cool the forest could be. Hey, let's go explore some more.
Visit the forest today and enjoy all it does. To learn more about the forest and find one near you, go to discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Big O for M&S Air Conditioning. You know, air quality in your home and business is more important than ever. That's why you've got to call M&S Air Conditioning and let them install a high-efficiency polarized air filter in your AC unit. Folks, it attracts, captures, and destroys biological contaminants to improve your air quality. With stellar customer service, answering your call from 7:30 a.m. till 9 o'clock p.m. For more info on high-efficiency air filters and their preventative maintenance plans, visit M&S Air Conditioning at ac-florida.com.
Papa, why can't we telegraph while riding a horse?
Son, there ain't no one to blame but Jeffro. He was riding old Betsy the Stallion, tip-tapping away at his telegraph, when blam! Ran right into the side of the saloon.
Well, if Jeffro can't do it, neither should you. Don't text and drive.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
You're listening to OnSideRadio.com. Catch up anytime by downloading the MyTuner Radio app. OnSideRadio.com, South Florida's true hometown station.
There are those who dedicate themselves to a sense of honor, to a life of courage, and a commitment to something greater than themselves. They have always defended this nation and each other. They still do. The few, the proud, the Marines.
Let's raise a cup to the first among us who put themselves last. To the risk takers, the mask makers, the heroes on the front line and online. To the ones keeping shelves full and keeping us hopeful. To those who don't stop and those making all the stops. To the ones who pick up, suit up, and never let us down. From all of us at Duncan to all the heroes keeping everyone running, we thank you.
OnSideRadio.com knows gamers need a home. It's time for Kai's Corner on OnSideRadio.com. To talk to Kai, dial 888-441-4623. That's 888-441-4623. To reach out on the text line, it's 844-416-8123. That's 844-416-8123. Here's Kai Chen Chisholm on your home for sports talk. OnSideRadio.com.
Hour 2 of Kai's Corner. Shout out to NorCal in the chat. And Herman. Love that movie too. Deion Jordan, Charles Harris. Yeah, I know. Those are also some draft busts. That's actually, you know what? Let's we're gonna do a whole segment on that. NFL draft busts, because now that I think about it, there has to be. Let's go biggest draft bust. This was posted in 2019, so there could be some others. Biggest draft bust. We're going to start at 1 and go all the way down and see what we get here. 1 is probably going to be... Oh, it's actually Jamarcus Russell. Interesting. All right, so this is from Insider. If you're in the YouTube chat, I'm going to post this. I like to do it if I ever look at an article so that you guys can also look at it yourselves. And it's good because I was going to talk some Dolphin stuff, and I was going to review that anyways with Lewis, and I don't want to repeat the same thing. So it's actually good that I kind of even talked about like draft busts, because now we can actually go through this article and talk about some of those. So... if you're in the YouTube comment section, first of all, hello. Thank you for chatting with me. I love talking with you guys, and I really enjoy that. Of course, shout out to NorCal. Shout out to Herman, because you guys are always in there every single day. And Troy Ortiz. Really appreciate you guys. Love chatting with you guys every single morning. I really do look forward to it. So we're going through this article, and if you want, you can copy and paste it. Go look at it yourself as well. If you're on your computer or something like that. If you're on your phone, then I guess you're kind of stuck listening to me and having to hear what it's going through. So it's from Business Insider. It was posted in 2019, and it's the top 25, top 27, something like that, list of NFL draft busts. Jamarcus Russell leading the way at number 1. Is that really like the biggest draft bust of all? Like, I guess it is, because Jamarcus Russell was looked at to be just one of these dominant guys, and he was looked at to be some, like, just absolute, they say here, 6'6", 260, outstanding arm. They thought he was going to be just insane. They thought he was going to be one of the most insane quarterbacks that we've ever seen in the NFL. He had everything that you looked at. He had the tools, and it just, it didn't work out for Jamarcus Russell. I wouldn't call, it has Robert Griffin III as number 3. I wouldn't call RG3 a top 3 draft bust. Deion Jordan's at 5. I would put Deion Jordan above Robert Griffin III. I get it. He was number 2 pick. He played for the football team, played for the Browns, plays for the Ravens now. I wouldn't call RG3 like the number 3 overall bust.
And more of his bust is because of the injury that was caused by the coaching staff.
Yeah, I don't think...
not caused by, but helped prolonged by the coaching staff.
Yeah, I don't think... And on top of that, Kirk Cousins was back there, and realistically, they wanted Kirk to start. They didn't want RG3 in terms of the coaching staff themselves. I don't think I would call RG3 the number 3 overall draft bust. I think that that's pretty, outlandish, to be perfectly honest. But, again, this happens with all articles, of course. Giants QB, I don't care about that. So I don't think that it's I don't think RG3 should be the number 3 bust. Then it goes on to Vince Young at number 4. I still think that's even I would put Vince Young and RG3 at maybe 4 and 5 respectively. Deion Jordan should be number 3. Deion Jordan, the Dolphins, because of what they traded to go out there and get him, and how bad, except for that Madden that released with him as that pick, oh man, he turned into a Hall of Famer every single time, because Madden is Madden, and he had a high rating. But besides that, Deion Jordan sucked. He came back a little bit with the Seahawks and did a few things, but he sucked. He was just horrible. And I think it's not really all the Dolphins' fault with that one as well with Deion. You have the failed tests, and the production just never matched on the field, even while he was there. So, I don't want to give too much. Even this one, Trent Richardson at number 6, I would put Trent above Vince and RG3. Trent Richardson, somehow, some way, the Browns got a first-round pick for him. Don't know how that even happened. And it's funny because Pat McAfee's talked about it a couple times where he's looked at Trent Richardson and said, oh, this is a guy that when we traded for him, we were like, all right, we're going out there and making a difference. And then he came out there and he was just bad. And he continued that trend of bad Alabama running backs. You remember for a time there, Alabama running backs were just dominant in college football. They just dominated every single game. They were running the football. You had these poor QBs playing for Bama, but damn, those running backs, they were so good. And then he kind of continued the trend of they were coming out of college and they were just ran to the ground, and they were not good anymore. They wouldn't translate. It's changed since then, but Bama running backs used to be kind of the way not to go because they wouldn't pan out for a while. And he's one of those examples. I think he's way higher than RG3 should be. Cedric Benson's another good one. I think that kind of sits there pretty well. Justin Blackmon, I think it might be a little bit too high. Even Mark I guess Mark Sanchez, 5th overall by the Jets. He's a pretty bad draft bust as well, but went to back-to-back conference championship games. He was a little something with the Jets. I don't think I would put him that high. There's a couple here I wouldn't put them as high. I would put Kevin White a lot higher than I would put Mark Sanchez, because Kevin White did nothing. Kevin White did absolutely nothing. He's had injuries. All he was that he was going to be a speedy guy. Said DeMarcus was going to be better than Culpepper in his prime. Yeah, there's certain things that you look at and you're like, all right, and I think Jamarcus there, Jamarcus Russell. I think that there are certain guys that obviously, like Jamarcus Russell's the biggest one. But again, like Kevin White, like he wasn't. Kevin White was not a first-round pick, and I remember at the time because he was picked, and then of course the Dolphins were able to get Devontae Parker. I remember at the time I was like, please do not draft Kevin White. If there's anything that you could do, Miami, to just make me just love myself today, don't draft Kevin White. And thank the heavens that did not happen. Oh yeah, Ryan Leaf. That's another one. Thank you, Herman, in the chat. That wasn't even put out in. I don't even think Ryan Leaf is on here. Ryan Leaf is not on this list as I'm seeing so far. Johnny Manziel's on here. Paxton Lynch is on here. Philip Dorsett, I think, is a huge bust. Like, there are certain guys. Roberto Aguayo,
Is there a time
bust.
frame for that one? Because that seems like a lot of newer.
It's 2019. It says in the last 15 years. So I guess, yeah, in the last 15 years. But even then, like, I don't know. Like, I think you have to put Ryan Leaf in there no matter what. Like, I think that you just have, like, whether it's the past 15 years, like, I didn't even, like, I thank Herman for even bringing that up because it didn't even cross my mind at the time. Yeah, Ryan Leaf is, like, one of the worst, and he's talked about it a couple times. And you have to think, if you're a guy like Ryan Leaf, you come out there and you talk about things that happen to you, you know, that takes a lot out of a person to be able to go out there and talk about your failures really in depth. This is another one, like Philip Dorsett, I think should be way higher. He was actually selected 29th. I could have sworn he was selected 27th. I always thought it was 27th, but it was 29th by the Colts. That was another one where it was just like, why? Like, some of these picks just never made sense. Christian Hackenberg is one. One that I hate because it's the brand was Roberto Aguayo. He was so dominant at FSU. He was an outstanding kicker. One of those guys where we were like kind of sitting there thinking as people who like the brand a lot, kind of sitting there thinking, man, this kid, could he be the next, you know, Sebastian Janikowski, where he gets picked in the first round because of how dominant of a kicker he is? Because I think that when you look at it, and the Bucs had kicking problems for a long time, and when you get a guy like a Jason Sanders, a Vinatieri, a Justin Tucker, Janikowski in his time, you know, I think you look at those guys, even, there's a name that's losing me right now, but you look at these dominant kickers, and Goskowski, you look at these dominant kickers, and they're worth every single bit of money that you could possibly get. Those dominant kickers are worth everything because they alone, if their money, if you're in the position to be able to get anything, they're going to get it for you. And I think that those are some things. Aaron Curry was mentioned, linebacker. He was put out number 8, drafted out of Texas, 4th overall in 2005. Yeah, Vernon Goldston is on this list as well. He's at number 11 on the list. But Roberto Aguayo was one of those. I wish that he worked out, but he just he had the yips as a kicker, and it was just not good. And he was so good in college. He was so good in college. I wanted him to be good so bad, but of course it just didn't turn out. This is from Bleacher Report. Oh, this is in 2010. We can still look at it anyways. We have a couple minutes here. I want to look at this anyways. It says top 50 draft busts of all time, and it's Jamarcus Russell 2, Ryan Leaf number 1. Who else is in there? Brian Bosworth. Remember we talked about the Bos a couple weeks ago. Brian Bosworth was there at 4. Charles Rogers. There's one specific name that I'm looking for. That's Achilles Smith. Reggie Bush. Reggie Bush is not a draft bust. Would you think Reggie Bush is a draft bust, Sean? I don't think that Reggie Bush is a draft bust. They have him number 10 in the top 50 of all time. I don't think he's a draft bust. At least not number 10. If you're going to put him up there. And you're putting him below, or you're putting him above Tim Couch? What? Kajana Carter, that's another one. Reggie Bush does not deserve to be. That is horrible. That's horrifying. Like, looking at all these people, Reggie Bush, Matt Leinart, you're going to put below Reggie Bush? Come on, Bleacher Report. I know that was 2010, but come on. I think the QBs are obviously the ones, and NorCal putting in Sam Darnold getting ghosted from the bust list. He's seeing ghosts, that's why. He's every single day he's seeing ghosts. I feel so bad for Sam Darnold. Man, like, I never thought that Darnold was going to be good, and I personally just never saw it in him either. I'm not the greatest talent evaluator, I self-admittedly. But like I would like to think that when I looked at Sam Darnold, it's the same thing with Jared Goff. Like I looked at Jared Goff, I looked at Sam Darnold, I looked at these quarterbacks, and I was just like, I don't get it. I was like, are we just hyping up quarterbacks to hype up quarterbacks? Because everyone's like, oh, if the Giants pass on Sam Darnold, it's going to be the worst mistake of their franchise history. I mean, not really. They've been better than the Jets have since the Jets got Sam Darnold, and the Giants are still not even a good team either. I don't think the hype around Sam Darnold was something that I never understood, and I don't think I ever will. Now, part of me hopes that he gets traded from the Jets because I think the Jets are going to continue to ruin him. I think the Jets will be a much better team now than they were with Adam Gase, who was seeing. I think about this. Adam Gase was seeing tacos, and his quarterback was seeing ghosts. Like this is like the greatest. And oh man, even then, I think like how did Adam Gase get a job with the New York Jets after being fired by the Dolphins? Like that's another one that just doesn't make sense. But Sam Darnold, I don't understand. He'll be definitely on that bust list. Like if there was let's say in 2025 a bust list comes out, Darnold will definitely be on that unless he somehow changes something. You have to think that maybe Jared Goff would be on that.
But can you throw Darnold on that list right now?
That's what I'm saying.
The only person that he's had work with him is Adam Gase.
That's what I'm like. I probably, if you have to look at it now, you'd say, okay, he might make it. But I don't think that, I think that Darnold deserves, just like I think Josh Rosen deserves a chance, I think that Darnold deserves a chance. There's some people that still even don't like Lamar as a passer. I think Lamar deserves a chance, because Lamar as a dominant playmaker at his position is insane. As a passer, he's not amazing, but I still think he deserves a chance to continue to develop as a passer. I think it goes back to everything.
But the thing is you also have to wait for the offenses. The one thing that I think the Ravens did better than anybody else is they made the offense around Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, play to his strengths.
Yeah, but now as teams catch on, now you're right that he does have to open up his game a little bit, or it's an easy game, as you saw last year, to kind of start combating and figuring out ways to stop it.
Yeah, and it sucks because I think Lamar is a pretty good guy at the quarterback position, and I think that's another story where when he's saying, I'm not a running back, I love that because I don't even think that Lamar, the running back, wide receiver stuff, I hate it. Just like Daniel Jones, I think deserves a chance. There's all these quarterbacks that Tua, you look at them and it's like, listen, if they give you 2 years on tape, 3 years on tape, where it's consistently bad and there's nothing to look at, all right, I get it. But if they're in a situation like the Jets with Darnold, even if I don't like Darnold, you deserve a chance to be able to at least do something. Like right now, when you really think about it, Daniel Jones is more highly touted as a quarterback than Sam Darnold is, and Darnold was supposed to be the guy. So we'll talk with Lewis Sung, and I'll ask him his question on the Darnold stuff as well. Thank you, NorCal, for bringing that up. Leaf is top 3. Yes, Troy, I agree. And then from Herman, they say Micah Parsons is going to be a bust because of the off-the-field issues. If the off-field issues come up, then that would probably be likely, but hopefully not, because hopefully he gets his stuff straightened out. Anyways, we'll talk with Lewis Sung coming up next. You can follow him on Twitter at LewisDSung. Sundays at 9 a.m., Juan Cardona dominates the airwaves with Juan on Juan. From sneakers to video games to your favorite South Florida team, tune in every Sunday to Juan on Juan, exclusively on the home for sports talk in South Florida, OnsideRadio.com.
Onside Radio, the only choice for the South Florida sports fan.
Let's raise a cup to the first among us who put themselves last. To the risk takers, the mask makers, the heroes on the front line and online. To the ones keeping shelves full and keeping us hopeful. To those who don't stop and those making all the stops. To the ones who pick up, suit up, and never let us down. From all of us at Duncan to all the heroes keeping everyone running, we thank you.
Why was the basketball court all wet? Because the players kept dribbling on it.
The dad joke. Corny, groan-worthy, but also one of the simplest ways to share a moment with your kids.
What did the buffalo say when he dropped his son off at school?
Bye, son.
So take a moment to make your kid laugh, because dad jokes rule. Make your kid laugh today. Go to fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
OnSideRadio.com knows gamers need a home.
Can you dig it?
That's why for the next 60 seconds,
Can you count, suckers?
here's your On-Side Radio E-Report with Toast.
Sony is making a strong push into the esports sector. The company's YouTube channel is filled with daily live streams. Gran Turismo Sport has become one of the most successful competitive games in the industry, and the organization recently acquired the EVO fighting game tournament. And now, much like the Call of Duty League, the company signed a deal to make PlayStation 5 the official console of the NBA 2K League. This is a multi-year partnership, which will begin in May as the competition's 4th season tips off. In addition to sponsoring the NBA 2K League, the manufacturer will be running its own tournaments and competitions in the game, with various prizes up for grabs. You can find out more about how to participate through the PlayStation blog. Happy gaming.
Stay in touch in the world of gaming with the On-Side Radio E-Report.
Inter Miami CF, your official furniture and mattress store, is here. City Furniture is your #1 home source for the trends you want at the prices you'll love, including exclusive City Furniture collections, the widest selection of styles, affordable home accents, mattresses starting at just $99 and more. Create the home of your dreams fast with next-day delivery, plus get 60 months special financing with no down payment. Because City Furniture is here to make it easy so everyone can live life like this, visit cityfurniture.com.
Hey, it's Big O. You know, air quality in your home or business is so important now, folks. That's why you've got to call M&S Air Conditioning. Let them install high-efficiency polarized air filter in your AC unit that attracts, captures, and destroys biological contaminants to improve your air quality. M&S is always on call from 7:30 a.m. till 9 o'clock p.m. and, of course, emergency Sundays. Call for more info on high-efficiency air filters and their preventative maintenance plans. Visit M&S Air Conditioning at ac-florida.com.
Welcome back to Kai's Corner. To reach out to Kai, dial 888-441-4623. That's 888-441-4623. Back to Kai's Corner.
Some great busts being talked about. John Bosa Sr. was one of them that was brought up. His boys, though, they are dominant. I don't think he was a bust, but his boys were dominant, or are dominant.
That's not a fair thing of John Bosa.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think he's a bust.
He was a hell of a player. The problem was he turns out to be a bust because he had the multi-knee injuries.
Right.
Which, by the way, his sons have kind of proven to be injury-prone, too.
Yeah.
And they're awesome. But I was told from all the people that played with him and practiced with him, Bosa was a freaking monster.
Yeah.
It was just terrible. He's not Kumaro. He's not Deion Jordan.
Kumaro was one that was brought up.
Yeah, those are bums. Those are people that had an opportunity to play and they suck, or other things derailed their careers or whatever. I mean, to Deion's credit, he's at least extended it and played in other places. But Kumaro and Jay Brophy, and we could just go on and talk about all the busts. But I always think that the Bosa one, people don't know enough that he was actually a monster. The only problem was injuries. It's like Hugh Green. Miami trades for him. He was a beast of a linebacker, and then Miami gets him and he blows out his knee, and you never see the real Hugh Green again. And it wasn't Hugh Green's fault. It was just back in those days, knee injuries ended your career.
Yeah, and we have Louis Sung now on from 5 Reasons Sports. You can follow him on Twitter at LouisDSung. Louis, what are your thoughts on some notable draft busts? And I guess let's exclude guys like Deion Jordan, guys like Ryan Leaf, Jamarcus Russell. Do you have any kind of name out there that we haven't mentioned thus far that's like one of those big draft busts?
I don't know about big draft busts, but I can think of a few players the Dolphins drafted differently than other players that were available that instantly kind of ruined everything. Like I do recall that it was many years ago where Jamar Fletcher was the draft choice when they could have had their hands on, shall we say, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Drew Brees.
That was in, I'll double check that for you, but I was going to say, I thought you were going to mention maybe like a Charles Harris, something like that, because as soon as you mentioned like guys that we could
No,
have
I
gotten.
don't want to
I'm
mention.
thinking,
You know why I don't want to talk about Charles? You know why I don't want to talk about Charles Harris?
Because he sucks.
A, it's too easy. Because it's too easy, and B, because I'm getting really tired of pushing forward the narrative that Chris Greer doesn't know how to draft because Charles. Listen, I don't care about Charles Harris. That's one draft pick out of however many drafts. I'm done with the Charles Harris stuff. Moving on to a new day and a new chapter of life.
That wasn't even his draft, too, when you think about it. He was in charge of that draft, Lewis. It was still Tannenbaum's
This
show.
is true. Yes, I know, but then they always tell you the reports that, Omar Kelly said that it was Chris Greer, so we're going to go with that, and Chris Greer sucks. End of story. And no, that's why I don't want to bring up Charles Harris anymore. Charles Harris is a figment of the imagination. We all made him up. It was a fever dream brought about by Deion Jordan's drug problem.
So we're gonna act like he didn't exist then. So to give you credit, you were 100% correct. The Miami Dolphins had pick number 26 in that draft in 2001. Selected Jamar Fletcher, and then Drew Brees went number 1 in the second round, 32nd pick overall, to the San Diego Chargers. So good memory on that. That's a pretty good draft when you think about it. I mean, there's a lot of really good players in that first round. Michael Vick, LaDainian Tomlinson, Richard Seymour, who else? Santana Moss, Steve Hutchinson, Deuce McAllister.
And we picked Jamar Fletcher.
Reggie Wayne, Todd Heap, Ocho Cinco. You know, it's a lot of good players in that draft. A lot of good players. Chris Chambers, we selected him in the second round. A lot of good players. It's okay. Listen, we get over it, all right? It's Steve Smith was also in that draft. We'll get over it, Lewis. It's fine. Drew's retired. We don't have to worry about him anymore. We can leave it be. The Dolphins, although we already knew what their opponents were, this morning they officially tweeted out their 2021 opponents, what it was going to be home, what it was going to be away. Of course, we get the added game with the Giants. So now you look at their home games. Of course, you have your Division Ones, Buffalo, New England Jets. You have Atlanta, Carolina, Houston, Indy, Baltimore, and the Giants. Those home games, Lewis, the Giants is a pretty one that you look at where you're like, oh, could be a pretty good, could be a win. You look at the Texans one, could be a win. Panthers, Falcons, of course, everything's still out on the Jets. That could be 5 out of those 7 home wins pretty easily there. What are you thinking on those?
I'm thinking that Miami really doesn't have much of an excuse to lose a lot of these home games. It's like you said, Baltimore was one, right? I haven't had a chance to look at it because I've been at work all morning, so I haven't had a chance to
the
actually
Division
look at my
ones
phone.
plus Atlanta, Carolina, Houston, Indy, Baltimore, and the Giants.
Okay, so those are the home games. So Atlanta, I'm not scared of because Matt Ryan is a shell of himself. All we have to do is get at him, and he's going to be a statue back there. So that's potentially a win. Baltimore is the one I'm always scared of. Not even because of Lamar Jackson, because
we get blown
Baltimore
out.
Ravens have been they've been kicking our teeth in since the Joe Flacco days. So it's not even about Lamar Jackson. I'm just scared of Baltimore. So until we actually manage to beat them, I don't care if it's at home or away. Until we actually manage to beat them finally, I'm going to be worried about Baltimore. But everything else, Houston, Deshaun Watson's drama I'm not worried about Houston. Really, I'm not.
Yeah, there's not a lot to worry about those.
Yeah, these home games, Miami should win most of these home games. There's only really you can only really make an excuse for Baltimore for the next, and of course maybe the home games because again New England always plays us tough. The Jets and the Bills, they always play us tough. The Bills are going to be difficult for sure. So
right,
if of all these home games that they have, they should really only have real fear, quote unquote, of losing 5 of them, and they really should. They don't even have that much of an excuse as it is.
Right. I mean, out of they have the 8 already plus the extra 9th now. I mean, they should come away. Look, let's say you lose to Buffalo, you should beat the Jets. Let's just assume you're going to beat the Jets. You would beat Atlanta, Carolina, Houston. Indy's going to be a tough game, but you beat them before. I think it's just going to be a tough game because I think Indy's defense is very good. Baltimore, of course, is very tough, and then the Giants. You're at least looking at 5
right
of those.
now?
Huh?
Who is Indy's quarterback again? Because it's not Phillip Rivers anymore.
Carson Wentz.
Yeah. Well, okay.
But
yeah,
but come
worried.
on, it's you think about it with maybe Frank Reich. Could it be something? You have to. There's at least some thoughts there where you kind of think a little bit. But that's at least 5 of those games, right? Like New England, you tend to beat New England at home. And you probably will end up doing that as well again because if their quarterback is still Cameron Newton, who does not know how to throw a football anymore, then you'll have a good job or at least a good chance. They should win those home games. Of course, Away at New England is, that always is kind of back and forth, especially who knows if there's going to be fans or not, how much they'll allow. Buffalo, of course, is right now. They're just one of the hardest teams, the Jets. Then the outside ones, you have Tannehill, which, of course, everyone wants to beat him. New Orleans without Drew Brees now. You got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Vegas Raiders again away, and then Jacksonville. So back-to-back years against Vegas, which is interesting because I don't think that really happens a lot. And then you got Jacksonville, which, again, back-to-back away. Then Tampa, New Orleans, and Tennessee.
Okay, so the away games are definitely the tougher ones. Of course, you're going to deal with Tom Brady and his crew of people. I think the only one they haven't brought back is Antonio Brown.
But why would they? You get me, Lewis? Like I don't get, like, so many people have asked, like, oh, bring back Antonio Brown. I still don't understand why Russ wants him so bad in Seattle. Like, what is he bringing to the table right now?
Well, don't you remember what Jakari said? He's the best wide receiver in the NFL.
He can be. That's the thing. He can be. But right now, he's a shell of himself. There's no reason to bring him back.
Yeah, if I'm Tampa. The only thing I can think of is Brady banging the table for him, say, listen, we already lived together in the same house for a while now. We want him in the same house again because he's really good, and I'll make sure he stays out of trouble. Unless he's willing to do that, then I don't know. As far as I'm concerned, Antonio Brown has been given far more chances than, honestly, he even deserves. That's just me on that whole thing because he's a mess. But now we have Jacksonville. The only thing we're worried about Jacksonville is if you believe Trevor Lawrence is so utterly elite at the beginning of his career that he can take that Jaguars team and elevate them to a point where they're actually a threat for the Dolphins, which I'm not convinced he will. So
at least not in year one.
Worried. Not in year one, anyway.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be worried about Jacksonville. Who are the other ones?
Tennessee. Tennessee and New Orleans.
Tennessee,
Like, New Orleans
yeah.
should be
Tennessee,
easy, but Tennessee is the one.
Tennessee, I'm expecting a loss. Dead to rights. Forget about Tannehill. Derrick Henry.
No, you can't forget about Tannehill, Lewis. That's the whole top. That's the whole thing, Lewis. That's the whole thing. It's the Tannehill revenge game. That's what people want so badly.
I'm not. Tannehill is a very good quarterback, and I have been defending him for many years. I don't get into Big O's Tannehill talk. I'm not into that. But I'm not going to stand here and say that Tannehill is one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL from a talented standpoint. Finally, he's been given an offensive line that can protect him. Finally, he's been given a running back who can actually run the football. In fact, he's the best darn running back in the NFL as far as I'm concerned. And so that is what has elevated his game to a point where we can say, look, this is what he could have been. But Tannehill himself, by himself as a player, I'm not, shaking in my boots, if that makes sense.
I don't think anyone's shaking in their boots.
It's more about Derrick Henry and that offensive line protecting Tannehill, which allows him to play to his fullest extent. So if Bernardrick McKinney and now we have John Jenkins back and those guys can actually keep Henry contained, then we have a shot. But other than that, I'm not going to hold my breath on Tennessee right now.
All right, so then really quick here, Lewis, what do you think is the final record in general for the Dolphins? We're at the 17 games now, so no more 10-6. It would have to be a 10-7. No more 8-8 unless you go 8-8-1, which you'd have to be so very talented and untalented to do. What do you think the Dolphins finish with this season?
I think that Miami will go 11-6. I'm not 100% sure that's going to get them into the playoffs. And now here's the thing that is going to get to me, and this is going to be something of a very, very big point of contention. If the Dolphins play well, but they lose a couple of those games that would potentially get them into the playoffs, like let's say they lose a close game to New England, and they needed that game to get into the playoffs. They make it to 11-6, but just like last year, that wasn't enough to get the job done. Miami went 10-6. They had several opportunities to get into the playoffs, but they didn't get that last game done that they needed, and they couldn't get in. So the real question is, if they don't make the playoffs, regardless of how they actually perform on the field, is it time to reevaluate the coaching staff, the quarterback, and all that other stuff?
Oh, Lewis, you're going – all right, well – Lewis is going a little bit. We'll have to talk about this on another day as well, Lewis, because you're getting into a little something else that's a little different here on some potentials there, and a conversation that would go much deeper. But I want to thank you for coming.
For what it's worth, my answer is no, but let me know.
Yeah, I know. But it's a conversation. But thank you for coming on, Lewis. Again, you can follow him on Twitter at LewisDSung. Does a lot of stuff for 5 Reasons Sports. And you can catch him on, especially when the Dolphin season comes back around. You'll catch him on everything that we do. Lewis, thank you so much for coming on, man.
All right, my pleasure, Kai. Coming back whenever you like.
Of course. Love talking to Lewis there. And we'd like to thank A Shade Above Windows Fashions in Davie at 954-434-4774. You can find it. I think we're getting Sean to pull up the thing right now so you can see it. It's in the beautiful pink and black. I know you might not be able to see it too much with the sun coming in, but it's beautiful. Pink and black has the onside radio thing completely smashed on there. They teamed up with Bandalux. They personalized it for us. It has the onside radio logo. It's in that beautiful pink and black. I keep saying, I mean, it just looks great. One of the things that I continue to say and will continue to harp on, and yes, you know, you have ad reads, but it is what it is, right? I absolutely love how seamless it is that you can look at it and you don't even know that it's there. Again, I mentioned it so many times on my show that I like to look at houses just because it's fun. And when you see those screens where you can tell that there's a screen there, I think it looks super, super ugly. But, you know, you can look at it here. It's seamless. You can barely even tell that it's there if it was up. I love it a lot. To order protection with style for your home or office like we did, you can call A Shade Above Window Fashions at 954-434-4774, or you can go to their website, ashadeaboveflorida.com. Love the space you live in. A Shade Above Windows Fashions.
Now streaming online. Onside Radio, the only choice for the South Florida sports fan.
There are those who dedicate themselves to a sense of honor, to a life of courage, and a commitment to something greater than themselves. They have always defended this nation and each other. They still do. The few, the proud, the Marines.
Okay, kids, Dad's gonna teach you how to dance. First, spread your feet apart. Then, pump your knee, nod your head, shake your hips, and bite your lip ever so slightly. Now, with one hand in the air, point at people with the other hand. I call that the rock star.
Dance like a dad. It's a great way to make a moment with your kids.
Now, make a face like it just smells something bad.
Visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Listen to OnSideRadio.com anywhere by downloading the MyTuner Radio app in your app store. Or go to MyTunerRadio.com on your web browser. OnSideRadio.com. South Florida sports leader.
Riddle me this. With all this sizzling meat and crunchy veggies nestled between toasty flatbread, who should get credit for Papa John's new papadilla? The person who invented pizza or the person who invented folding? Well, whoever it is, a tip of the tongue hat to you, sir or madam. Get a new papadilla, 4 flavors, just $6 each. Better ingredients, better pizza, better than a sandwich. Papa John's.
Keeping you informed in the world of sports. With an OnSideRadio.com sports update.
Hello, sir or madam. A winning weekend in South Florida sports as the Miami Heat beat the Cavs with their 115-101, their 4th straight win. Bam Adebayo had 18 points, 11 rebounds, 5 assists. Next game Tuesday at home versus the Grizzlies. The Miami Marlins won the final game of their series with Tampa Bay Rays 12-7. Starling Marte had 4 hits for the Fish, who won their first game of the season, also first home win versus Tampa Bay since 2018. Marlins welcome the Cardinals to Lone Depot Park tonight. First pitch 6:40. Trevor Rogers takes the mound for the Fish. And South Florida's hottest team, the Florida Panthers. They swept Columbus at the BB&T Center 5-2 on Saturday, 3-0 Sunday behind Chris Drieger's second shutout of the season. Their next game is Tuesday in Carolina. This is South Florida's home for local sports talk. This is OnSideRadio.com.
To Kai's Corner. You can send Kai a text at 844-416-8123. That's 844-416-8123. Here's Kai Chen Chisholm.
All right, if you missed the interview with Lewis Sung, you can find that in podcast form. Search up Kai's Corner on your favorite podcast platform, and you'll find that. As well as you can follow him on Twitter at Lewis D. Sung. Same thing if you missed the conversation with Ariel Atias Also from 5 Reasons Sports earlier on this morning in the first hour. You can also find him on Twitter at Ariel TSATTIAS, and then the number 2 on Twitter. Make sure and go and follow him. He does a lot of in-depth stuff with the Heat, which I really, really like from Ariel. I love that he really looks at things in a different perspective than really a lot of people I talk to. Same thing with Royal, which is why I love talking with Royal, because it just looks at it from, you have the fan point of view, and then you have other things that maybe even some people might miss every now and then. So I really love talking to both of them. So Ariel was on in the first hour. You can find that. Then we just talked with Lewis. You can also find that. Again, that's Kai's Corner on your favorite podcast platform. Or if you're on YouTube, as many of you are right now, first of all, hello, how are you doing? Make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the notification button, and make sure it says all notifications, not personalized notifications, because you will get a notification every time that a stream goes live, and every time that a stream is posted in video form. You'll be able to find those, and you can go back and you can just find it if you want to go through the VOD and look at it yourself on there. You can also do that. A couple comments came in while we were there on the break. First one from NorCal said, Ryan is closer to Tana Kill than Tana Thrill. I do agree. I do think, you love to, and I put Tana, I don't know why I put Tana Hill for sure. It should have been Tana Kill for sure in my agreement there in the comments with NorCal. I'm not saying that Ryan Tannehill is like some God-given talent. I just think it'll be funny because that'll be the topic of conversation. Whenever that game is, the topic is going to be, this is the Ryan Tannehill revenge game. And what it'll most likely be is Derrick Henry going to run through that great Tennessee offensive line, probably go for, a $150 or a $130, a touchdown or two, and then we'll be pissed because we'll be thinking we let Ryan Tannehill beat us. He'll probably have like a touchdown to, oh man, I can't remember their other tight end's name because John Smith's with the Patriots now. They'll probably have a touchdown to that tight end that they have. I think it's Scherzer or Schwitzer, one of the two. He'll have a touchdown to him, and all of us will be upset. That's just what it's going to be. It's going to be that revenge game for Tannehill. Then you mentioned 12-5 or better. I would like to think, and then Herman said below as well, 12-5 or 11-6. I think that those are that's what you're going to expect from the team this season. You're going to be expecting a 12-5 or an 11-6 out of the team because, again, I mean, you look at the teams they face. Now, of course, when you look at everything as it stands now, you look at it and you're like, oh, these teams are all bad, this, that. So you can really judge from how we are now. And, of course, that's what we always do before the game, before the season, or even before the draft. I mean, after the draft, I will give my official, and once the scheduling is actually out and we know who we're playing in what week, I will most definitely have my season prediction, and I will book it, and I'll probably do something along the lines of maybe my own, I'll figure it out, but it'll be something there, and we'll all have my own thing. But you look at the opponents right now. Of course, you have Buffalo twice, New England twice, the Jets twice. As the Jets currently stand, if they keep Sam Darnold or they bring in a rookie, you're probably expecting to win both of those games. Then you probably split with New England again. So that's already you're 3-1 at that situation if you want to, calculate all of that. Buffalo, let's just assume because you got blown out twice last year. Let's just say you get both of those losses. That will put you at 3-3. Unless something horrible happens, you're not losing to Atlanta. That's 4 now. You're not losing to Carolina. That's 5. If Houston doesn't have Deshaun Watson and they're starting Tyrod Taylor, that's going to be 6. Indy, it could go either way, but let's say you win that at 7. Baltimore, let's say you lose. Now you're 7-4. Giants, that's 8-4. And that's just talking about the home, that's the home games plus the away games on your division already. You should beat Jacksonville. That's 9. Tennessee, let's say you lose that. That's 9-5. You beat New Orleans. That's 10-5. And then you should beat Tampa and Vegas. 12-5. Honestly, NorCal, 12-5 is very realistic. And let's say 11-6. You just, for whatever reason, you drop the Indy game or you drop, I don't know, maybe one of the Jets games off of something. 11-5 or 11-6 and 12-5 should be the ones that you're shooting for. That would make the absolute most sense for the Dolphins. If you get anything less than that, that's going to be a shame. And then from Eric Wiedeke, it says the AFC this year is going to be weaker. Pittsburgh, Tennessee, and Indy taking a step back. I wouldn't say that I think Tennessee is going to take a step back. I think Indy's defense is very good. I think the thing with Pittsburgh and I was hard. I know Eric because we were doing our podcast last year. Every single week I was saying that I didn't understand why the Steelers were so highly touted just because they were undefeated, because their team had so many flaws. I could see that happening because Big Ben's arm just is, it's like what Drew Brees' arms was last year. It's not the same anymore. Yeah, you're bringing back Juju. He'll probably play for a year. Who knows how he'll do. I think he would have done a lot better if he went to the Chiefs. If he went to the Ravens, he would have made more money. But he said he wanted to stay. That was the thing in the first place. He had the stream. He said free man, all that stuff. But he said he wanted to stay. That was his thing. His agent said he wanted to stay. Rappaport, whenever he went on something, he always said, the thing that Juju wants to do is stay, and that's what he wants. So that was always the thing. Even with the stream of I'm going to be a free man on this day and playing in different uniform colors and all of this stuff, the main thing that was being said by the reporters and by him himself through his agent and everything was he wants to stay in Pittsburgh. So he stays. That's cool. But Pittsburgh's just, they're not, offensively, they're just so poor. And defensively, they're also very, very poor. I think this could be one of the first times in a very long time that we see a Steelers team below 500, like an 8-9 or a 7-10 type of season. Oh, 7-10 sounds so bad. Like 7-9 still is bad, but 7-10 just, it's like 7-10 and 10-7. Like those, I really don't like the 8-9 or 9-8. I like, they still sound bad, but they're not horrible. But man, the 7-10 and 10-7 sounds, I really, really don't like that. But I could see that happening, being like a 7-10 team, an 8-9 team from Pittsburgh. I just don't think they're going to be that good. Indy, I think, will be fine if Carson Wentz is fine. And if not, then you know what? Then Indy will have to say to themselves, we had a chance, a big reported chance, where they confirmed it themselves to get Brady, and they didn't want to because of the legacy of Peyton, which is understandable. But we had a chance to be there with our dominant defense, get one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, and we passed for Phillip Rivers, and now here we are. If the Carson Wentz stuff doesn't work out, I think it will. I think putting him with Frank Reich will be good for him, and I think getting him out of Philly will be good for him. And you saw he did a really long interview with Pat McAfee, who of course is Colts, huge fan, one of the best punters, was punter of the decade for the 2010s. And he was talking with McAfee, and a lot of what he said was, I needed to get out, and a lot of being free, or not being free, but kind of in the mental state and everything. And it was kind of the same thing that, Nick Foles talked about before he came back and then won that Super Bowl for Philly as a backup was, he considered retiring. And it was a lot of going through things and really trying to reevaluate. So I think that Carson Wentz is in a better headspace. Of course, we'll only know when things come. And then a couple of comments about the Baby Yoda stuff, which we'll talk about with Big O when he comes in for the cross, or when we bring him in for the crosstalk, because he's already here. He's not even coming in. It's just when we bring him in for the crosstalk. But I expect a lot out of this Dolphins team. That unless Tua comes out there and he just stinks up the place, then I don't think that they should. Oh, I did say Tampa. I didn't mean to say Tampa. Thank you for catching that, Eric. I did not mean to say Tampa as one of the wins. I'm not sure why. I think it's because I didn't mention Jacksonville. I expected them to beat Jacksonville, which I never mentioned, I don't think. And then lose to Tampa, beat Vegas. Thank you for that, because I did definitely say that, and that is not what I meant. I do not expect them to beat Tampa. I expect it to be I don't expect it to be a blowout, but I expect it to be one of those games where that defense, if our offense is anything like it was last season, we're not getting through that defense at all at Tampa. That defense is just something different. I think what they do, Todd Bowles should be a head coach next season, coming out of this season into next, because I think he didn't get a fair shake with the Jets in general, and he's just fantastic. It's like the Steve Spagnuolo stuff. Though I don't think Spagnuolo is going to be a good, and I don't think he ever was a good head coach. I don't think he'll be a good head coach in the future, the defensive coordinator for the Chiefs. It's just those are two defensive minds that are so fantastic, where if you're people like me that you love defensive games and you like watching all that stuff, like those low-scoring defensive games, I love that for Todd Bowles. So hopefully he gets a job in the future as well. Eric Bieniemy, another one, but that, of course, on the offensive side. Coming up, we'll crosstalk with Big O and round out hour 2. Florida Panthers fans have a place to call home every Saturday morning, as Cats insider David Dwork will host Tripping the Cats Radio every Saturday at 10 a.m. Onside Radio is committed to all sports, and Panthers fans can now connect every Saturday from 10 to 11 with David Dwork on the home for Panthers fans worldwide, OnsideRadio.com.
Onside Radio, the only choice for the South Florida sports fan.
Let's raise a cup to the first among us who put themselves last. To the risk takers, the mask makers, the heroes on the front line and online. To the ones keeping shelves full and keeping us hopeful. To those who don't stop and those making all the stops. To the ones who pick up, suit up, and never let us down. From all of us at Dunkin' to all the heroes keeping everyone running, we thank you.
I'm 54, so basically, it's too late to start saving for retirement, right?
Not right. Starting to save, even in your 50s, can really make a difference.
Well, right now, saving seems hard to wrap my head around. Plus, with the way this year's been going...
Hey, listen, it's okay. You still got this. Just go to aceyourretirement.org. It's an online tool from AARP that can help you get your retirement savings on track no matter your age. It's free and only takes about 3 minutes.
I like 3 minutes.
Yeah, at aceyourretirement.org, you'll chat with Avo, the friendly digital retirement coach. Just answer a few questions and you'll get a personalized plan and tips to help boost your retirement savings. Tips that are easy to understand and tailored to your lifestyle.
I like that too.
Plus, it's sponsored by AARP, so you know they got your back. Just head to aceyourretirement.org and make your plan to start saving for retirement.
Thanks.
That's aceyourretirement.org. A message from AARP and the Ad Council.
You can't buy a best friend. You can love them, walk them, pet them, and care for them, whether they want you to or not. You can take a picture, or 50. You can fly to the moon, travel the world, or just stay in bed. You can't buy a best friend like that, but you can adopt one. There are millions of pets waiting for a best friend just like you. Help us save them all at bestfriends.org.
Join the Inter Miami family in 2021 by becoming a 2021 season ticket member. Enjoy enhanced access benefits and pricing not available to general fans. Visit intermiamicf.com/tickets for more information.
Let's be honest. The National Symphony may not be in his future, but he wanted to try violin. So you said yes because you love him. And if you love him that much, love him enough to make sure he's buckled up and in the back seat. Find out more about keeping your kids safe in your vehicle at nhtsa.gov/the-right-seat. Show him you love him. Keep him safe. Visit nhtsa.gov/the-right-seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Hey, hon, what you doing with your phone? Taking pictures?
No, I'm asking it questions.
Like what?
Hey, Bobo, do flowers have best friends?
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I don't know that. Hey, follow me. I want to show you something. Look, flowers do have best friends.
Whoa.
Some answers can only be found in nature. Discover the unsearchable. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a trail near you. Brought to you by the United States Forest Service and the Ad Council.
I was in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean when it happened. There was a sudden jolt and our submarine crashed on the seafloor. We were in total darkness.
That's Dr. Dejana Figueroa, a marine biologist and STEM teacher, talking about a deep sea dive she'll never forget.
It's funny, when I was a kid, I was afraid of the ocean, and there I was, 2 miles below the surface. But as a scientist, you prepare for that. Using our training and a little creativity, we fixed the sub and finished our experiments. The dive was just too important. Every dive gives us glimpses at things few people ever get to see. Glowing creatures, fiery undersea volcanoes. When we got back to the surface, I kissed the ground and called my mom, of course. But you know what? I wouldn't trade that dive for anything.
Dr. Figueroa uses her passion for STEM to discover new things and make the world a better place. She can STEM, so can you. Check out She Can STEM for more stories and inspiration. A message from the Ad Council.
Hey, it's Big O. You know, air quality in your home or business is so important now, folks. That's why you've got to call M&S Air Conditioning. Let them install high-efficiency polarized air filter in your AC unit that attracts, captures, and destroys biological contaminants to improve your air quality. M&S is always on call from 7:30 a.m. till 9 o'clock p.m. and, of course, emergency Sundays. Call for more info on high-efficiency air filters and their preventative maintenance plans. Visit M&S Air Conditioning at ac-florida.com.
Let's get back to Kai's Corner. You can send Kai a text at 844-416-8123. That's 844-416-8123. Here's Kai Chen Chisholm.
Rounding off hour number 2, we got in a comment from Willie in the YouTube said, I'm calling for 13-4 to adjust my break Marino's records. I said it. I mentioned back in it because I like to kind of chat throughout the break and then bring it back up. And we're going to bring in Big O in a second, ask his thoughts. But I said I think at least 11-6. He came back and said it might be realistically accurate with my opinion, but he bumps them up emotionally. But the expectation should be the very least 11-6. We have Big O for the crosstalk now. What are your thoughts, O? Do you think the same thing? Like 11-6 is like the floor for the Dolphins team this season?
I don't think that's fair, bro. But
you think it should be lower, or
I think it should be right around 10 wins again. I think
like a
it's
10-7.
Yeah, because you're not surprising people anymore now.
Yeah,
they're going to prepare for you. It's a whole different ball game. So I just think, they might have a little bit of a setback or something along those lines this year. But I can see them winning 10, 11, 12 games this year. I can actually see it if things go well and they stay away from brutal injuries and those kind of things. I think they got a shot, but I wouldn't be disappointed if they're 10-7.
I wouldn't be disappointed, but I think that floor.
You know what I want? I just want you to make the playoffs.
Yeah, ultimately.
That's what I just need you to make the playoffs, and then from there we'll figure things out. And then I want to see what you do in the playoffs because you didn't get the playoff experience. You got the double-digit win experience. Okay, so now you just need to get into the playoffs so you can start to get that playoff experience for Gesicki and for Tua and for all these young cats. Jerome Baker's never been in the playoffs, So let's get playoff experience for these boys, and then we can start to build on that in the following season. So for me, the floor is get your ass in the playoffs.
Yeah, I think
I don't know
would
what
agree.
It takes. It might take 10, might take 11, might take 12 wins.
I think 10 would be. I think 10
it's
and 7
17
gets you
this
in.
year, so
yeah.
that may.
The reason why I would say 11-6 is because I think again, like you throw in, if it was any other opponent, because you know how the NFL wants to do with the 17th game is always you go up against whoever it was. Like if you finish third, you go third. If you finish second, second, first, fourth. So I think you throw in that one with the Giants. Like I don't expect the Giants to be as bad as they have been. I think they improved a lot under Joe Judge last season towards the back end. But I think you add that in there and you're thinking, okay, that could be that 11th win, where that could be
Daniel
the one
Jones
where you look
is not
at
beating the Miami secondary.
I don't think so either. But like you get me. I mean, I don't know if Saquon, because again, like it all comes down to the run defense. I mean, McKinney should help extremely should help a lot with the run defense. But you look at it and you're thinking to yourself, okay, I mean, notoriously the Dolphins are really bad at run defense, and they have been for a while.